violet like hair. And then when I went to like visit Beijing, I think at that time, I remember I was eating, and then there was just this guy just taking pictures of me, like
Oh my God.
blatantly, like.
We could catch up, like a little catch up. Like, how's your week been?
Okay. So my week has been okay. Got this new nails. Mặc
Magwa lại
lại.
sách.
And delay no more. What's up? Ah, so cute. And then it matches my purple shorts.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. Oh my god. So yeah, everybody, link in link in the description if you want to buy.
Slide it in there.
How is your week?
My week, honestly, it's been crazy a little bit. A lot of good things happening with our podcast and my job too.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and spring is a bit weird here because like spring is like, oh, I can't decide whether I'm winter or summer. So it's cold and then it gets really hot. Like I turn on AC one day and then the next day I like turn on the heater.
Oh my god. Yeah,
So.
no, I just hate the wetness. It just rains all the
I
time.
am
And
the
then, like,
witness.
the sun comes up also, like, afterwards. Like, all right, Florida, make up your mind. Today we have a very special guest.
Now we can welcome Pearl. To introduce who you are, what you do. Yeah, tell us about yourself.
Sounds good. Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Pearl Lowe. I am a non-binary queer artist and person of Jamaican and Cantonese heritage. I currently live in Los Angeles or on Tongva land. And I'm originally Canadian, so I just recently moved here to work for an animation studio here. And yeah, I've like Cantonese has always been part of my life. Like it's definitely something that has like shaped who I am. I like don't speak it fluently, but like I'm trying to like study more and like become more fluent in it just because it's important to me personally. But yeah, I like to like in my art, I like to like involve my culture and kind of like weave it into the stories that I tell kind of thing. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So your parents, you're half Cantonese. Your mom or your dad?
My mom, yeah.
Okay, and then your dad is Jamaican.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad's
So
from
cool.
Kingston, and my mom is from a small, well, I guess it's not small anymore, but it was a small village called Sundak, in the Guangdong province. I think it's like near Foshan or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's where she's from, and she like came to Canada when she was 7. So she immigrated when she was really, really young. Which is why like her Cantonese is also like Mama Day, you know. So that's how it is. That's how it is.
That's so cool.
I know.
Yeah, Canton, Jamaican. We were just before you came on, we were like, yeah, there's actually a lot of Cantonese or Chinese that migrated to like Central America or Jamaica. Like it's I didn't know that.
I was surprised, yeah, because like of all places, I was like, what? Cantonese? That's cool. But did you ever gone to like a Cantonese school when you were like younger? I tried, but like, so I guess the schools that existed when I was younger was like taught in Cantonese, but it was for kids who already spoke Cantonese, you know? So it was just learning how to like read and write kind of thing. So I did try when I was younger because I was like, I don't know how to speak Cantonese. Like, what if I go to school? Like, let me try. But I didn't know how to speak. So when I went into like the class, they were just all speaking, and I was like, I don't know what's being said. Like, help. So I mean, I learned some characters from that, but I had to like guess. I was always like, what is happening?
That's kind of like a little bit of our story too, because right, we went into our parents don't speak Cantonese, but we grew up in Macau, right? And so our school life was basically that, like what's happening, but we just no parents that we could ask questions to, you know, and
That's so
Yeah.
wild. That's so cool though. I feel like that's such a unique experience. And like kids are so smart. So like kids do eventually figure it
Catch up,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I think because like I was also it wasn't like immersion like outside of school. Like I wasn't in like Hong Kong or anything, or like I didn't
Mhm.
have a lot of people speaking it. So it's kind of like only in that environment. And so when I
That's
was
true.
like out of it, I was like, oh well, this is not helpful. I can't even practice.
Is
Like
hard.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
What
plus, we
made you
started in kindergarten, so we
That's true, yeah, we did
Ah,
really, really young.
really,
Yeah,
really young. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What made you, like, I guess, interested in studying Cantonese? Like, I know you have Cantonese, but, there are some people who maybe struggle to embrace that part of themselves because they were different, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm half Sri
Mm-hmm.
Lankan, half Filipino. I don't know one, like, I think I know one word in Sri Lanka, like Tamil, but yeah, I'm
Mm.
very like detached from my family's
Mm,
heritage.
yeah,
What
no,
else?
it can be hard. It's like, I don't know. I guess my first like spark of interest to learn Cantonese was because my grandparents didn't speak like any English. Like
Okay.
they just spoke Cantonese. And so I was kind of growing up being like, okay, like I can't even say anything. Like I can say some things, like in the scope of like, are you hungry? Do you want to eat this? Or like really
It's like,
simple
"Japan,
conversations.
yeah."
Yeah. Hello, hello. So like stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But like as I got older, I was like, oh, like I want to have conversations a little bit more
Mm.
about like how I feel and like stuff like that. So um that was like the first thing. And then afterwards, I was like, oh no, actually, I'm just like really into like learning about my own cultures. And I think that's like really a cool thing to do. I think some people are like, oh, like, how come you're such a big fan of like trying to learn like about Cantonese culture? I'm like, I am Cantonese and I am proud. And I want to like
Yes!
learn
Yes!
about stuff. And like I think like learning a language is like really an important part to like learning about the people because like
Yeah.
say like there are certain things that you say in Cantonese that just like you would never say in English. Like I learned this idiom from a friend of mine and it was like get sang like learn or something like that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I was like
Tiso.
yeah, and I was like, we would never say that in English. Like first time
Yeah.
raw, second
Oh,
time
there's
cooked.
another one that I'm thinking of that I could never translate to Cantonese. Maybe you could help me. But when we grow up, people would always say "dai kwan sik sai kwan," and if you directly translate, it
Oh.
means big germ eats small germ. But the meaning of it is that, oh, if you drop like a cookie, it's fine. Just take it and eat it, right? Faji, I don't know if that's how you interpreted that, but I always heard Taekwondo six Taekwondo is like, oh, you could
So
just,
interesting. You know what it sounds like? It's like a big scumbag eating small scumbag. Like the bigger scumbag you are,
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounded
That's
for
so
me. It sounded like
interesting.
some metaphor or something like that.
and I
Yeah.
tried to translate to my friends or my family. They're like, yeah, no, that doesn't make sense in English, and I tried
Right.
to, yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah. Some things I'm just like, I don't think there's an equivalent, which is like cool though, because then it's like, oh, it's specifically like what Cantonese people say sometimes. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just really like that. So being able to get to know like the people, like Cantonese people more through the language and like people from like mainland and like people from like Hong Kong have different like
yeah.
ways of speaking
Oh
too. So it's just
yeah.
like this whole thing. So I find it fascinating. So
So
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And is that like why you started like your platforms, right? Like
so
Cantonese
cool, by the
Connection.
way.
Yeah. And your
Thanks.
channel as well. What I guess
Yeah.
what's your idea with that or plan?
Yeah. So my initial launch for Cantonese Connection was just kind of wanting to create a space where beginners could like feel safe to learn.
Mm.
Because I feel like in Chinese school there was this kind of like and like within Chinese culture in general, there's this kind of pressure of being like, you gotta be perfect. Like, how come you're not getting A's? Like, why aren't you doing better? Like you always have to be doing better. And it feels like you can't make mistakes sometimes, but like when learning a language, like you're gonna make mistakes and like you're
Mm.
gonna sound like sometimes
Mhm.
awkward when you're saying things
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, that's not natural, but that's okay because you're learning. But I feel like sometimes when talking with like Cantonese elders, they're like, oh, lim sik gong ah, like, and then
I'm
it's just
sick
like,
of
and then,
yeah,
yeah, and then they just like walk away, and I'm like, oh my god, like why don't you just
yeah.
tell me how to say it properly and kind of thing. So I really wanted to like create that platform where it's like I don't know like everything because I'm a beginner and like other people can come and like also be okay with feeling like they're a beginner and like find resources and like
So
I don't know
true.
like read blog posts that I put up or like watch
Yeah.
other like I have another podcast as well that I'm wanting to do called What You Thinking. And the cha is like ta, like for tea.
Oh, so
um,
cool.
yeah, and like I really I'm having people on the podcast, and I would love to have both of you as well. And like the theme is like we all have like a cup of tea, and then we just like talk about like what
Yum
it's like.
ta, and then
Yeah, and then and then we talk and stuff.
love it.
And like it's also like another way to kind of talk about like stuff that goes on in our communities that we don't really talk about, like, oh, how come sometimes we feel like pressures from like our elders to do certain things, or like how
Mm.
come we feel like we have to be a certain way or learn at a certain pace, or like all these different things too, and like multicultural people too, like how come it feels like you're an outcast in your own communities, like all these different types of conversations. So Cantonese Connection is kind of like this big umbrella platform of just kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
unpacking our identities and like being okay with like learning at whatever level that you're at, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this platform that you're creating for like beginners to learn Cantonese is really good because we found out, a lot of maybe Asian Americans, Cantonese, American born Cantonese don't speak the language so much, and a lot of them maybe
Mm.
feel like insecure with, like you said, right, speaking with relatives or parents, or if they're in a setting of just Chinese people, they're like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't speak Chinese, so I don't really belong so much.
Mhm.
Like our
So
last guest, Kevin, he just said just the same thing. How he wishes he knew more Cantonese so he can speak with his pawpaw, like just
Mm.
like the grandma.
yeah, yeah.
That's very
Right?
touching. And then some
Yeah.
people are like messaging us like, "Oh my god, thank you! Like it's making me remember some words, like these reels, because they're hilarious or
Right?
something." Like, thank you. Like
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, truly, like the stuff that you guys put out, I feel like there's like a real, like everyone is so thirsty for like Cantonese, like learning material, but like outside of like kid stuff, because I feel like a lot of like learning materials, like
Right,
okay, like
like
kids, like
elementary.
yeah,
Yeah,
but like if you talk about like adult, like everyday things like that you go through life, and then people can hear Cantonese in that context, they're like, oh, that's great, because that actually like relates to me. Like I'm not gonna need a bedtime
that's true.
story
Yeah,
versus like and wanting to listen to a bedtime story in Cantonese is okay, but like
it's
also
fine. Yeah,
variety is nice.
yeah, that's true. a good balance of what kind of
Mhm.
platforms there are.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
Have
always gonna
you?
be those people that's like know-it-alls and like, oh, that's not how we say it, and blah blah blah
Oh my
blah blah blah
gosh.
blah. But it's like
True.
you
There's
gotta like
so
brush them
many.
off. I mean, because like
Yeah.
no one does that for English. Like, like people are
Like
like,
an
Hello.
accent, right? Right? You don't like
Mhm.
you don't go to someone from New York. You're like, it's not coffee, it's coffee. You don't do that to someone.
That's so true.
And like I know, I was recently just stumbled upon like a TikTok that was kind of correcting all of the sounds that Hong Kongers pronounce, Hong Kong Cantonese pronounce. Like even one of the reels that we posted on the poem, like when we say "guang," like bright, like
oh,
"guang,"
they're like, is it guang or gong like that?
yeah, guang or gong, like saying like, oh, Hong Kongers
Bruh.
have this lazy tone, like a lanyam, lazy tone, like
It's called
how
efficiency.
it's just about being quick. After all, Hong Kong is a very fast-paced city.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like I feel like sometimes it's not even about wrong. It's just an accent, and like
Yeah.
It's
if you
just
understand, you shouldn't be picking on it. Like, and
Mhm.
if it is like you're right, like you should just tell me like to correct it, and it's like all right, good to know. Yeah.
Or just
And
like, oh, sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
but
No, just like even if like I don't understand someone, I'm like, oh, can you say it again, or can you describe what? Because like people like speak can't. So like my grandparents, like they have like a really. I've been told like, oh my god, your like family's accent is like so country, and I'm like, oh, what do you mean?
oh,
And so like some of
interesting.
the things that we say, like instead of like ocean is like hoyer, right? Or something, but we call it like daiso, like big water or
Oh,
something.
I
interesting.
love that.
Yeah, or like what's it called?
Sir, I like it.
Yeah, but some
Oh.
people are like, "Oh, that's so like country, like that's so like civilized, like whatever." I was like, "Oh my
Interesting.
god!" But like, if I say that and you don't understand, like I could describe it to you, like you know what I mean, like or whatever.
I
So I just
understood
feel
it.
like,
I saw
Yeah.
this is the big ocean.
yeah,
It makes sense. Everything in Cantonese is logical,
yeah,
That's true. That's
very
true.
true.
It's true. It makes more sense in Hoyer. Like, what's Hoyer? Like,
Hoy.
Truly,
Yeah. And you're like, no. Like,
yeah,
oh.
I don't know what it is. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess so. Because like, if your grandparents are from like mainland China, right? Like,
Yeah.
then it's definitely different than
Hmm.
Hong Kong,
Yeah.
Macau, Cantonese. Have you visited any of those places?
No, I want to go
That's
so
the dream.
badly. Yeah, it was I don't know. It's like so weird. It's like a mix of like I want to go and I'm like, but traveling in Asia while black sometimes can be like
Mm,
annoying. Like I had some
It's true.
friends
It's true.
who like live in Shanghai and they were like people just like and Chinese people do not care. They will stare at you, they will take
Oh
photos
yeah.
of you, like
Oh,
they will like
trust me.
touch you sometimes and stuff
Oh
like that. And
yeah.
I'm just like,
I've
I don't
had that.
know.
Yes, definitely.
She has a lot of experience to share growing up.
There's this time of my life where I had like colored hair. I had like
Mm.
literally like violet like hair, and then when I went to
Ooh.
like visit Beijing, I think at that
Mm.
time, like I remember I was eating, and then there was just this guy just taking pictures of me like
Oh my
blatantly
god.
like this, and I was
Literally, right, right.
like, oh my god.
Like, go away.
Yeah, I didn't. I remember thinking like I didn't care at the time. It's not like you're gonna make it better like by telling them like stop or whatever. So I'm not like a
Yeah.
confrontational person
Mm,
anyway.
mm,
So it's
mm.
like, oh my god. But yeah, like they would stare and they
Yeah.
would, yeah,
Oh
it's
my
annoying.
god.
It's better to go with a friend for sure. Like not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot. Yeah, I would not solo travel. I think I would have to like go with somebody because it
Mm,
would be more fun. But
definitely. Yes.
yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, and also just like in general, like also beauty standards, right? Like how people plastic like dear, like if your skin is
No.
whiter, you're prettier, like all these
There's
all
something
these
also in China where they
Truly.
look at like black people and think they're like celebrities. Like
oh my god,
Beyonce?
like
I'm
Beyonce.
like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I don't look anything like Beyonce. What are you talking
Like if you're blonde, then you're Britney Spears.
about?
and they will touch your hair.
They will. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I'm kind of like I want to go, but I'm like, I'm not in like a rush
that's
to
true.
go.
Oh
So,
my
but
god.
eventually, and I would really like to visit Hong Kong because it looks very
Oh, Hong
lovely
Kong
there.
is very different.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's definitely you should check it out. Ooh.
Hmm.
And you've
Wow.
been how long have you been like like I guess started this platform or your Instagram or Cantonese Connection? I know maybe you recently launched Cantonese Connections, right?
Mm.
But when did you start like doing it on social media and publicly like talking about
The
Cantonese?
Cantonese.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe Hmm, maybe 2018. Because around that time I had signed up for this like Saturday school, the Saturday Chinese school. And
Okay.
so it was in Vancouver's Chinatown and it was run by this nonprofit group called Youth Collaborative for Chinatown. And it was in the association building for the Wong Society. And so like on like the second floor or something, they would have like adult classes for learning Cantonese. And so I was like, oh, adult classes? Like this is amazing. I don't have to sit in on like a kindergarten class or anything. Like I
Yeah.
can sit with like other people my age. And it was cool because it was like different people from different backgrounds and like different age groups and stuff. And so like after that, I was like, oh, like I would like to continue to talk about Cantonese because it was only like I don't know how many weeks it was, but maybe like a couple months or something like that. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, but like I would like to continue it. And so I would do like comics in Cantonese and just like write in like Ping sometimes, or just like talk about like, oh, sometimes I feel like I'm not learning fast enough or whatever on Twitter. And then
Mm.
people would be like, oh, I relate. I do that. I feel
Oh.
this way too. And so I kind of noticed that people wanted to talk about that more. Cause like you were saying,
Oh,
like a lot
okay.
of like ABCs or CBCs or
Yeah.
like BBCs or like whatever, anyone born outside of like
Yes.
mainland.
Yeah.
Um, like growing up Chinese, like we don't always have like that immersion or like opportunities to speak. And like if we have opportunities to speak, it's usually just with, like our family, like our parents or
Yeah.
something like that. And then like when you go out in the world, like maybe you can say it with like the aunties who like work in Chinatown or like something, but it's not like with your friends or like, like common conversation or whatever. So we kind of like lose, some vocabulary or we don't get to
Mm-hmm.
practice. And so I was like, okay, let's continue to talk about this on Twitter. Like, even though I'm a
Mm-hmm.
beginner, like, I just want to like talk about it as
Yeah.
much as
No,
possible.
because it's cool too, because like I guess in that sense you also find people through like these social medias, right? That connect to
Mhm.
that Cantonese. Because for me here, I live in New York, but I don't really know like where to go to find people who are, I guess just Chinatown, but I don't live in the city. So it's like one way to kind of find or create that.
You created a connection for all the Canto speakers, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you can practice your Cantonese while making content, which is perfect because language is just like a bicycle. You just gotta like ride it.
You gotta
Keep
practice.
going. Yeah, you gotta keep going.
Wow, profound.
I know.
Super. I'm curious about like your illustration career.
That's so cool, by the way.
Like, I checked out your portfolio a little bit, and there's Netflix, Cartoon Network.
Dude, yeah, Cartoon Network.
Those are huge.
What? So cute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've like dabbled into, so how can I say? So I started off my career in animation. I'm still in animation. And I've been working in animation for like just over 8 years now. And yeah, I started off in Vancouver because Vancouver has their own animation industry, and then worked on a bunch of shows there. And then like in 2020, one of my friends who worked for Cartoon Network was like, "Hey, you want a job?" And I was like, yes, I want a job at Cartoon Network.
That's so crazy.
So I was like, please hire me. So they ended up hiring me. And I worked on a show called Craig of the Creek, which is like a really cute kid show, about like these 3 kids, Kelsey, JP, and Craig. And they explore like the creek in like the backyards of like their houses, and there are all these different kids who like, there are the sewer kids who hang out in the sewers, there are like the ninja kids who hang out by the waterfall and read manga. Like there are all these different types of kids you get to meet and have adventures with. And so I got to work on that show for actually up until January this year. But yeah, in the meantime, like I tried freelancing for some folks, and so like I've worked on a short film called Hair Love, which was with Sony, won an Oscar, really great.
That's so cool.
And
congratulations. That's
Thanks. Yeah, it was really cool to see that happen. And some other like feature films that are like NDA, like I can't talk about it, but I worked with some like, folks at DreamWorks. And then like Netflix, I had like sold a show of mine and was like developing my own show with them for a couple years. And so that was like, yeah, that's like my animation side, and I really enjoy being in animation. I love the career of like just being in.
And you're so talented. Oh
yeah, they look really cool.
Oh, thank you.
You know what I can imagine? You could create like a whole cartoon, kind of like what's that cartoon? Red Panda.
Oh, Turning Red.
Yeah, Turning Red. You could create like another cartoon like that related to like Cantonese
oh my God,
culture.
I wish. Yeah,
that would be a dream, right?
That'd be so fun, like truly, especially because like. Yeah, in Turning Red, like they didn't speak Mandarin, like they spoke Cantonese. I was like,
yes,
oh my God,
I got so excited when I heard like, she was running on the street and like, oh, why? I was like, oh,
yes, you're like, wow. That's so cute. I love it. Yeah, I definitely want to like one day I want to make like a show that's like bilingual, like because I feel like when kids watch or like grow up in a home, they hear like both, right? Like English and like Cantonese, and so like having a show that like sprinkles in Cantonese
for
and, like,
sure.
Because like shows like I don't know, like Dora Explorer, like they have like Spanish words in there sometimes and like English, and I'm like that would be really cool for like Cantonese
and showing like people like us speaking Cantonese too. It's like,
right?
It's like, oh, I didn't know people in like Caribbeans like speak Cantonese. Like that's so like people like I didn't know that, and people should know that.
So many people, and like also people can like learn. I feel like a lot of people in like Chinese culture are like, wow, like how come you know how to speak? And I'm like, anyone could learn, first of all, like how to speak a language, but like there's so many different types of people who like speak. So
yeah, for sure. Oh, that would be exciting. Like a Cantonese Dora.
Love that. Oh my God. Well, we always talk about food here, obviously. So, what is your favorite Cantonese dish?
Oh my God, just one.
I know,
that's
right?
So hard.
It's a hard question.
I don't know. That's so hard. I feel like if it's like a savory dish, then I really like lately, this is only gonna be lately because it always changes.
Yeah.
I think lately it's been like bitter melon and egg, like stir fried. I really like that.
Oh.
I feel like I have like auntie taste buds. Like I really
I love your
bitter.
auntie
I'm
stories.
sometimes guilty of it too. It's
I'm
like,
like, ooh, it tastes so good. People are like, that's so disgusting. I'm like, I love it.
it's like, foie gras, who wants foie gras?
I'm like, are you popo? Because you like foie gras? Like, I love it.
No, I get it.
I love it.
So that's like a savory thing that I really love. And then like a food, if it's like sweet, I feel like I just love like a dan tat. Like I love that. And it's a good, solid,
So good.
consistent, good thing. So
It's good texture. It has everything. It's just
flaky, silky, so good.
Yeah.
Not too sweet. Oh, so good.
So good.
Not too sweet.
That's the point. Not too sweet.
Yes.
This was a question we got asked by also like a previous guest. What do you think is the underrated Chinese dish? Because like obviously people talk about dim sum a lot, or just like dishes that are popular, right? Like char siu, hakao, siu mai. What is an underrated Cantonese dish, a Chinese dish that you think people should give it a try? And
If we should give it a try.
yeah,
That's interesting. I feel like the bitter melon's kind of underrated.
I know that was
that's like,
But like,
I remember my mom would make that sometimes, and I'm like,
oh yeah, same thing with like tomato egg. Like as a kid, I was like, like please, I don't want to eat this anymore. Anything else?
You put like sometimes they put ketchup in it too. It's like I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a weird concept for people.
Yeah, some people are like, oh my god, ketchup in your. I'm like, yeah, it's like sweet, kind of that sweetness, I guess. But that's an interesting one. Like a underrated. Xing Jiao Cao Mai, like Singapore, like noodles. It's really good.
Yeah. I think that is underrated. It's good though.
It's good.
Let us know some resources or platforms that you have people can go to, or even if you have an illustration account.
Okay, all of them, all the links. Okay, let me try to remember. So I guess my website that you were looking at with my portfolio is pearllow.com. So if you want to see like my artwork there, you can see like my animation work, my illustrative work there. If you want to check out my Cantonese stuff, you can go to cantoneseconnection.com, and I have like resources there, including like app recommendations or like learning resources from other like teaching materials and stuff like that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am Fumi Chun, Fumi FUMI_CHUN. And I talk about my life, I guess, and art and Cantonese and like all these things on that platform. And I am on Instagram at Cantonese Connection, and I'm also on Instagram at Fumi Chun without the underscore. So just FUMICHUN. I think that's all.
Where did Fumi come from?
I feel it. So, okay, it's like, it came from this song that I was really obsessed with in the 6th grade. It was a Japanese song, and I didn't know how to speak Japanese then, like at all. But there was one word that I kept like chiming in, and it was like fumi, and I think it was like part of the verb like fumidasu, like to move forward. And so I'll be like na 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 fumi, na fumi, and I'm like, that was like the only word I knew of the song.
That's cute.
And like my friend at the time was like, okay, so we're gonna call you Fumi Chun now because that's the only thing that you're saying. And I'm like, Chun? I'm like, because when you like call someone by their name in Japanese, like you can add like, Chan or San or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Chan, not Chun. And they were like, oh, forget about it. It's Chun now. It's fine. So I just kept the 2, and I was like, okay. So it's from like elementary school days. Super random. But I've kept it.
We love nickname stories.
Yeah.
Love it. So yeah, because people always ask us like, resources of learning Cantonese, but we learned it in Macau, so we have no idea where to go. So everybody follow Pearl.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah. Let us know, let us know when you want us on your podcast.
Yeah, listen, I will let you know.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much
where to contact us.
Oh, no, thanks for inviting. Yeah. And if I'm ever, you're both in New York, right?
She's in New York, I'm in Florida. Del Rey Beach.
Okay.
South.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
We're doing all this long distance. So.
All long distance friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
Power.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Joy Keen.
Joy Keen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.